Good afternoon. My name is Jim Conlan and welcome to the latest episode of our entertainment show. As you know, each week we premiere a new TV series or a new movie that's debuting in Ireland for this coming month. And up for discussion this week, it's back with a bang, season 2 of BMF. The Black Mafia Family. It's already out. It hit our screens here in Ireland on January the 6th on Channel Lionsgate Plus. It stars, it's executive produced by the one and only Curtis Jackson, 50 Cent. And it stars about two brothers based on a true story who rose from the fame of the decaying streets of Southwest Detroit in the late 1980s to give rise to one of the most powerful crime families in the country. It stars Demetrius Little Meech Flenory Jr, the son of the real Demetrius Meech Flenory, Tyson Freeman, who plays Hoop, Myles Truitt, who plays B. Mickey, Christian Robinson, who plays Tiny, Tyson Freeman, who plays Hoop, Rafael Costello, who plays Nido, Da Vinci, who plays Terry Flenory, the brother of Demetrius Flenory, and the father of these two boys, the one and only, and our special guest this evening, Russell Hornsby. And Russell, how excited are you for all the viewers here in Ireland and UK to see season 2 of BMF, Black Mafia Family, after what was a real successful season 1?
No, I'm very excited. First, I'm very excited that we were able to do a season 2, and that both season 1 and season 2 have been able to come across the pond and visit you all over there.
Yeah, and Russell, I was watching the trailers of it, and I can't help but notice the similarities of another 50 Cent production, which was usually successful, Power. In terms of that, and there's the hallmarks of what made Power so successful is running through this series as well in terms of BMF. And as you think maybe 50 is an executive producer that he learned an awful lot from his time on Power and directing Power, that he was able to bring that across in terms of his vision for BMF?
Well, I do. I think that first, I think he learned that audiences had a craving for these kinds of stories. And I think also he realized we can take a fictional story, which is Power, and then enhance it and do a show that's based on a true story. And everybody, I think audiences really appreciate shows that are based on true stories. And BMF, Black Mafia Family, was a big deal back in the 80s and the 90s and the early aughts here in America, especially obviously in Detroit, where they originated and where they ended up in Atlanta. That brought about a real transition of Atlanta, and that sort of helped Atlanta become the music capital of America, and where it's now almost the movie capital of America.
And obviously you're very much an experienced actor, an accomplished actor, has been in an awful lot of works. Tell me, what's it like working under the likes of 50 Cent? Is he a sort of, dare I say, it's a powerful word, but a visionary in terms of what he tries to do and bring forward? Obviously he comes from people who know him, the music background, the songs, the rap sort of songs, but in terms of this guy, in terms of his producer, in terms of an idea sort of guy, is he very an intelligent man in terms of what he wants to do on his sort of vision, bring it from inside his head to reality?
Well, yeah, I mean, first and foremost, 50 is an artist in his own right, having a very successful music career and a very bright and intelligent man. I think that one of his hallmarks, though, is being able to suss out true talent in its own right. So he gets the best writers, he gets the best directors, and he gets the best actors in order to portray a lot of these roles. I really had to give him a lot of credit when in Power. I saw a lot of theater actors that I grew up with in New York populating a lot of the shows early on, and it really impressed me. And so when it came time when they came to me and said they wanted me, and he said, he told me, he said, listen, I want you because, you're a real actor who comes from the theater, and I respect trained actors. And so he's given an opportunity to a lot of trained actors that wouldn't otherwise get opportunities or haven't gotten them in the past.
Mm. And you mentioned that in terms of you were sort of seeked out for this role, but in terms of when you arrived on set, Russell, for the first time, and you saw this young assembled cast in sort of in front of you, did you get a sort of sense that you were onto something straight away? I know you've been in so many gigs and so many plots that you've seen shows come and go with expectation, but did you sense there was something different about this when you stepped on set for the first day?
You know, I wouldn't necessarily say different. I think I realized that that I would have to serve as a mentor of sorts, you know, for a lot of the young actors. You know, there are a lot of young actors that at various experience levels, various different skill levels as well. And so I think it was incumbent upon myself, Nicole Brianna White, who plays Lucille, my wife, and also Steve Harris, who plays Detective Bryant, to be leaders, you know, and to set an example. And I think once we kind of got our rhythm, probably by about episode 4 or so, I started to realize that we found something, you know. And that we were all on the same page. And once we got to that and realized that, that's when I realized this was going to be something special.
And when you heard the plot, when you heard the storyline, I suppose you were probably immensely encouraged. But did you get a surprise when 50 came to you and said, listen, we're going to have the son of Meech Flenory on this sort of TV series? Was that a sort of shock to the system?
No, it wasn't a shock. I want to say that I was enthused, you know, about it. I think what better opportunity for a son to get to know his father, whom he hasn't, you know, been with, you know, as a free man since, you know, when he was 5 years old, than to play him. And I think that it served as an opportunity, I think more importantly for the show, but also for Meech's growth and development, which is very important.
Mm. And Russell, in terms of the production for shooting season 2, did you do an awful lot of block shooting in terms of multiple episodes, in terms of out location, or did you run from week to week in terms of the one script? And how long did it take to produce an episode of BMF in terms of from the time you got into Monday? Was it a 6-day turnaround?
It's about an 8 or a 9-day turnaround per episode. The first season, we basically did one episode at a time. And then when we got to the second season, we shot of blocks of 2 and sometimes 3 episodes at a time, which can be very challenging for the actors because you're trying to understand, you know, continuity and everything like that. And so you have to work with 3 different scripts that kind of that go back and forth. It's like you're constantly going like Back to the Future. You know what I mean? And so you sometimes you don't honestly always know sort of where you are within the story. That can be a challenge. But other than that, I mean, it's just it's part of the process.
And you shot obviously in Michigan and Detroit and Atlanta, Georgia, basically based on where the true story sort of originated. And was it important for you to come back to the hallmark, to those sort of scenes in terms of that sort of backstory, those poignant sort of landmarks to give that sense of realism, to not to produce sort of fake sort of backgrounds and sceneries, which could be done in Warner Bank studio in California? It was important that she got onto the real life ground where these things happened.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always, whenever you can, it's always best to shoot on location. And I also think that because the showrunner, their creator, Randy Huggins, is originally from Detroit, I think it served as a source of pride for him to bring his show back home to Detroit to lend that sense of authenticity, you know, to the show, so we can really get a lot of these landmarks, a lot of these interior landmarks and exterior landmarks and things of that nature, as I stated, which add that great sense of authenticity, and also a salute and a tip of the cap to the city of Detroit.
And one thing I noticed from watching BMF, and I watched season 1, and I watched the trailers for season 2 as well. It depicts a level of sort of mid-level sort of violence. It's not over the top. It's not excessive in terms of throat slitting, in terms of guys bleeding out, in terms of real debauchery that sometimes is associated with mafia. You get the sort of, let's say, it's middleized in terms of the level of violence, in terms of what we start to see. There's no real over the top nudity or sex scenes or anything like that. So it's modest by nature, but it's all about the story rather than the, dare I say, the visuals sometimes.
Right. Well, I think that we want to excite, we want to titillate, but we don't want to exploit. And I think that that's important. And I think that it's important that you lend a sense of realism, but also more gravitas, for the show, so that you have something that people can enjoy and that entertaining, but also more so that people can appreciate, because it is really about telling the story. It's about telling the story of these two young brothers, but also you want to get a real depiction and representation of where they came from and what's the overarching story. And that is that these men had to go into the profession of selling street pharmaceuticals because their city, their neighborhood, and their country was broken and let them down, and not something that they wanted to do. So you can't. I don't believe that it serves a great purpose to sort of too much graphic nudity or graphic violence, because then we really lose the sensibilities of what the story is really trying to say.
Yeah. And Russell, about your character, Charles Flenory, are you the sort of voice of reason? Are you that sort of hard sort of ground, that you're the one to put your sons on the sort of straight and narrow in terms of college education, but you also realize the big bad worlds out there in terms of these characters, that if your son step astray, that they'll eat him up, that the wolves are knocking or hunting around looking for, say, new blood all the time?
Yeah, I think that Charles represents every blue collar head of household. I think that whether it be here in America, in the UK, in Ireland, that fathers who go out and work for a living every day, they want the best for their kids, outside of that, but they want their kids to get the job or the money the right way. And so you either use your hands or you use your mind, and being, a drug dealer or a gangster is never something that's respected, I think, especially by men who work. Do you know what I mean? Who get up and punch a clock and go to work for a living. It's never respected, never desired. And so I think every father, and Charles is one of them, chief among them, who's saying, I work too hard for you all to drag our family name down by doing something as despicable as this, and so all he's trying to do is keep his sons on the straight and narrow path. And as we know, in every situation, when it becomes difficult to put food on the table, the younger lions among us are going to go out there and find their own way. That's just human nature. You know what I mean? And so I think as time goes on, he's realizing that it's inevitable, because how society let their kids down.
And I suppose, Russell, in terms of season 2, what's in store for our viewers, in terms of, not without giving too much away, in terms of an arc, in terms of trajectory, where's season 2 going to take the Flenorys?
Well, I think that we'll find out that money does not a family make. And that I think that we were realizing that money can be divisive. It can bring a wedge through people, and that's what that's what we'll see in season 2, and that sometimes that as things are broken, they can never be fixed. They're irreparable. there's irreparable damage that happens. I think all because of the love or the pursuit of the almighty dollar.
Yeah. And I suppose, Russell, lastly, I know you're shooting a season 3 as well. How optimistic in terms of the future for BMF? In terms, I know Hollywood and I know how the business works, that something can be look so promising one day and then the next day it's gone. Are you just enjoying every moment of being on this sort of project? Are you not sort of looking too far in the future? I suppose as an actor, you've been involved in so many projects where you thought to yourself, right, we might be on this for 2 or 3 years, and then wham, hey, babe, are you just enjoying and rolling with the punches, as the saying goes?
Yeah, I mean, at my age and my experience, that's pretty much all you can do is they say, take the crooked with the straight. Roll with the punches as best you can, and know honestly that tomorrow is not guaranteed nor promised. I've done shows where we've been in the middle of the episode and they've come and said, drop everything wherever you are, put everything down and go home.
Wow.
We're done. Like in the middle of shooting an episode, in the middle of shooting a scene. It's happened. I've had the plug pulled. So nothing surprises me either. And again, that's why you try to, help these young actors. You try to mentor them to be responsible. You try to mentor them to save their money, and not get too crazy, not to get too high, not get too low. That's important to kind of go be even keel about the business, as best you can.
And I suppose, Russell Hornsby, over to you now for the last 30 seconds. You might enlighten all our viewers, all our listeners here in Ireland, why they should tune in for season 2 of BMF, Black Mafia, and what's in store for them. Over to you, Russell.
Well, I think, we have Black Mafia Family BMF for season 2. It's just an exciting, I think, family drama. We're dealing with, 2 brothers that came from the hardscrabble streets of Detroit. And you're learning about, there's this sense of entrepreneurship and, how people go about making a way out of no way, but also discovering how you don't necessarily have to be a victim of the circumstances that you were born under, and that doesn't have to be your future. And you can find a way to make a better way.
On that note, Russell Hornsby, for me, Jim Conlan, an absolute pleasure talking to you on the airwaves this evening. We wish you all the best and continued success with BMF, Black Mafia. I know there's a season 3 and the works, and hopefully there's a long more. And hopefully, please God, Russell, we'll get you on again to talk about some project in the near future. But for the moment, Russell Hornsby, an absolute pleasure for me, Jim Conlan, talking to you today. Stay safe, take care, and God bless.
Thank you, sir. You too. Have a good one.
Cheers.
Thanks.